had been crushed to bone meal. Ravens weren't usually so bold as to scavenge in traffic. He'd taken the coastal route from Brunswick to Belfast, thinking it would afford him good views of the sea, forgetting that the road consisted mostly of commercial strips between gray stretches of woods. Occasionally there would be a seaside village, still hibernating, lots of "see you in the spring" notices on signboards. He desperately wanted to see the ocean again and felt cheated. He was trying not to think of Maeve or the refuge, but the scenery wouldn't permit him a moment's peace. Every few miles he would pass another random business named for the comical little bird she had helped bring back to Maine. Puffin Plumbing, Puffin Pizza, and most absurdly, the Huffin' Puffin' Cannabis dealership. He used to find these things funny. Past Belfast, dark clouds spread across the sky, and he found himself fidgeting, unable to get comfortable in his seat. Wasn't that the same black BMW behind him since Rockland? It was March, there was almost no traffic on Route 1, and how many black BMWs were there with tinted windshields and Maine plates? In the distance now he glimpsed the two towers of the Penobscot Narrows Bridge rising above the evergreens, but his gaze kept returning to the mirror. The BMW wasn't tailgating him exactly, just keeping pace. When he sped up, it sped up. When he slowed down, it slowed down, and refused to pass. After the morning's reprieve, he felt the familiar anxiety returning like someone had cranked up the voltage in his nerves. If he could just get across the bridge, he would be safe, he thought. What story did that come from? The one with Ichabod Crane. If he could just get across the bridge, he would be safe from the headless horseman. He saw a sign for a scenic turnout ahead and made his decision. Without signaling or slowing down, he turned sharply into the unpaved pullover. The driver of the BMW kept going straight without a single beep of his horn. Meanwhile, his heart was throbbing, and he felt dizzy enough to pass out. He tasted bile in his throat. He threw open the door and leaned against the car until he could recover himself. While he'd been driving, the wind had turned. Or maybe it was because he'd stopped on an exposed hillside above the Penobscot River, frigid with snowmelt. But it felt as if winter had returned with full force. He waited for the BMW, but it didn't reappear, and shivering, he made his way to the information kiosk at the head of the turnout, mostly because he had never stopped here before. A weathered sign advertised the observatory atop the western tower, but the viewing platform was closed until June. Just his luck. He leaned down to read the smaller print that explained the spectacle before him. The only observatory bridge in the Western Hemisphere and the tallest in the world. The observatory is at 420 feet, 42 stories, the tallest occupied structure in Maine. The design of the obelisk towers pays homage to the local granite industry, which harvested granite from... He could read no more. He tore his eyes away from the sign to the man-made cliff blasted in the bedrock across the road. The rock was jagged and orange with iron oxide, as rusty as the western face of Ayers Island, where it looked across the sea at Baker. Again, he felt dizzy. "Excuse me, would you mind taking our picture?" It was an older woman, somewhere between his mother's age and Maeve's, and a silent, uncomfortable-looking man who kept his hands in his pockets and had to be her husband. Virginia license plate, tourists. What were they doing in Maine in March? "Sure," he said. "Happy to." She handed him a smartphone that had been state-of-the-art a decade earlier. He coaxed them into position against the backdrop of the bridge as if portraits were his passion instead of wildlife photography. And he snapped 3 photographs to be safe. "That's so sweet of you. You're so sweet to do this for us," the wife said with a slight drawl. People always called him sweet. People always called him a kid. Because he had a baby face. Because even with blonde stubble on his chin, he looked like a high school